everyone, and welcome to the New Earth Lawyer podcast. My name is Geraldine Johns-Putra. I'm your host. I'm a lawyer based in Melbourne, Australia. I'm speaking to you from Bunurong country, and so I would like to pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. Today, I am speaking with Bernie Hung, a lawyer, the founder and the CEO of Blue Box Rocket. Blue Box Rocket is a revolutionary vision to launch service, and it helps pioneering entrepreneurs and CEOs grow their seed of an idea to reality. She helps them scale up their businesses for massive expansion. Through her blend of legal expertise, business consulting, and empowerment coaching, Bernie helps these high-performing pioneers, creatives, and change makers who want to disrupt the world with their philosophies and their products. She has a passionate belief in unconventional ideas that they require unconventional support. She calls herself the Rebel Lawyer. So today we're going to find out all about that. Welcome, Bernie, and thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Geraldine. Very happy to be here with your audience.
Now, we were saying before we started recording that it's been a while since we've caught up. And when I knew you, when we last met, which we were trying to figure out, I was a corporate lawyer and you were an intellectual property lawyer. And there's been a lot that's happened since then. So why don't you fill me in on what's happening and fill in everybody who's listening as to how you transitioned from IP lawyer to the Rebel Lawyer and coach?
Sure, of course. We were trying to figure out when we last met. Possibly it was when I joined not so long ago, I think, after I joined Gucci as legal counsel. That was my first and only in-house job, actually. I started my career in big international law firms. It's actually where we met, right? I started off in JSM, which was now Mayer Brown in Hong Kong, and then Linklaters, right? And then I joined Gucci and as a legal counsel, and that was my only in-house job. But it's a fascinating one because it kind of like elevated my practice from IP and technology lawyer to like a pretty much all-rounded lawyer, because when I first joined Gucci, I was the only lawyer in the entire Asia Pacific. We covered 15 jurisdictions at the time. So since I'm the only person in the legal department, so I ended up having to do everything, really, literally everything by myself. I didn't even have a secretary or paralegal. So everything, legal, IP, regulatory, compliance, all me. But which is good. But you can imagine my first couple of years was really hectic. I basically ended up, I think, maybe sleeping on an average maybe 4 hours a day, because my headquarters, they were all the brands headquarters, which are in Europe, some in the US, but the majority of them were in Europe. And then I was in Hong Kong, and then I covered the Asia Pacific time zones, right? Yeah. So it's like, well, literally all day. Round is actually more busy than I was when I was in Linklaters. That's like so crazy for me. I remember saying to myself and some of my friends at the time, if you ever think that going in-house would be an easier job than working in Linklaters, maybe not. But actually, I ended up really loving that job. I first joined with Gucci, but then later on I worked on the parent company level. I worked at Caring level as senior legal counsel for APAC. Okay. I think all in all around 8 years altogether. And during those 8 years, basically, of course, I handled all the IP, all the legal regulatory stuff for the entire region. But I also worked very, very close to business, because that's part of the job, right? To get the legal regulatory stuff properly done. Sure. You basically need to be really, really close to senior management and also all my local colleagues in APAC. So that was the bit that really helped me elevate my profession and my career as well, because of those years where I worked really, really close with senior management. I learned a lot from how to run a business, how to operate a business in different countries, how to do it internationally, with legal and legal and regulatory support, basically as support. But then the first and foremost is how to run the business successfully.
You
need to understand where the business is, where it's going, where does it want to go, and then all the other functions, including legal, is to help the business get there.
Which is that is the perspective that you don't always get as the external lawyer. And if you're in a very lean team across many jurisdictions, I can imagine you certainly did have to fuse with the business and to make your job more efficient, so that you didn't waste a lot of time because you didn't have a lot of it. You had to understand the basics and get on with it.
That's when I first started training myself to first and foremost get to understand what the business want to do, what objectives they have in mind, what are their 5-year plan, because I didn't have enough time to just look at now. I wanted to preempt them coming back, every day with the same issues, right? So I wanted to think a little bit ahead. Where do you want to go, with this project, with this plan? 3 to 5 years in whatever country that you want to go into, or where you already operated. Then I can provide, a more supportive and realistic strategy as well, and then to implement it in a much more cost-effective way, because I know the end goal. I don't only work on the inquiry when it comes to the door, which is a lot of the times what external lawyers do, right? The client goes to the external lawyer with a question, and then you provide the answer, you send a bill, and that's it, right?
That's it. You cut off. You don't have to. You start at a point where you haven't seen the strategy.
Exactly. You never
come
really
in,
know.
and then you cut off. You don't really have any ownership of the outcome.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's yours. You take care of it.
Yeah, and then a lot of the times, we as external lawyers, we do not know what our advice, where does it end up to? Does it actually get implemented?
Yeah.
How is it? Has it been twisted, in whatever way? We just never find out, right? As external lawyers. But on the other side, as in-house, that's where you get to really do the real work, right? With the company, with your management, because the job with the in-house, it does not end when I get the advice, right? That's the start of it, right? And then you then work with you then work with the different business units, you work with the senior management team to implement it, right? If anything gets wrong in the middle, you need to tweak it with the local operational people, right? So that helps me a lot, learning the nitty-gritties, how it works inside a company, a big corporation.
But you were still very much a lawyer. You were in-house. Were you enjoying being a lawyer? Was it part of your identity to be a lawyer? Because you're not now a practicing lawyer anymore, are you?
No, I am still a practicing lawyer.
Still do practice? Okay.
Yeah, I'm a consultant with a Hong Kong law firm. We are first-tier IP law firm. So I'm still practicing as a Hong Kong lawyer.
Okay.
Serving my clients. Wow. So most of my clients have been with me for more than 10 years, I think. Well, they kind of age me, but yeah, they've been with me for a long time. That's why I don't want to give up the practice. Okay. Because when you've worked and you've served your clients for so long, I mean, to be honest, most of them have kind of become friends to a certain extent, right? So I don't want to just somehow ditch them or send them off, somewhere else when I relocate to London, right? So I kept my practice. I'm still practicing as a Hong Kong lawyer, but on top of that, I'm doing other things.
Tell us about
the
other things.
The other things, like my rocket project, which is one of the business ventures that I have in London, where I basically provide clients with an assimilated service, legal, business, and coaching. So legal and business, as I mentioned earlier, to me is you can't have one without the other. if you wanted to provide legal support, first and foremost, you need to understand the business. So when I work with a new client, of course, they come to me with some sort of a legal question that they think they have, right? But my approach normally is to understand them, understand their business, their brand, the company, the structure, what they want to do, what are they doing now, rightly or wrongly, where they want to go eventually, what are their plans, business plans.
Yeah.
And then we come back and talk about the legal issues.
So you have the business conversation, and then you take them through the legal solution. Well, that's really interesting. I find that that's actually possible more now that I've stepped out of practice with a large firm and I practice on my own. I find that it's possible to have those conversations in a far closer way with the client, without the pressure of billing. How much does my time cost? How much is it going to cost you? And then growing with the business. So you make an investment with the client.
Yeah, I still do, not only with my consulting business in London, but in my firm serving the clients, from my Hong Kong law firm, I still do that. My approach is still similar as well. But although, as you said, we need to be mindful of the billing hours, so you cannot ask clients about their life story, in the meetings. Not just yet. But but I still start from there. I still start from understanding the client, the person, his or her position in the company, just to understand the dynamics a little bit, right? And then understand the business, the brand, where they are present, where they want to go. I still do all those business stuff first. Before I talk about the legal stuff. In my experience, sometimes clients come to us thinking that they have issue A. After you ask all those questions, you actually know that they don't have issue A. They have issue C, D, E, and everything else, but not A, right? So, but if you don't ask those questions, you would never find out, and they would never find out. So what happens is that you give them solution for issue A. They go back and then they realize, actually, this is not what I need, right? So it's like they paid for something that it eventually is actually not going to be helpful for them inside a company. And then the feeling for them is that, oh, actually, this lawyer is no use. I pay the money. Well, that advice actually doesn't help me in any way. So that is not the type of lawyer that I want to be. Because I had, when I was in-house, I had that experience because I was the client, right? And there were so many external lawyers, to my surprise, that really still do that nowadays. But then you have to use external lawyers, when you're in-house. I mean, there are so many jurisdictions, and I don't practice in every one of them. I'm not an expert in each practice area, right? So to a large extent, we need to rely on external counsel. But then the good thing, of course, me being a lawyer, I kind of know the questions to ask, right?
So you use that experience to guide your philosophy around business and legal. Where did the coaching come in?
It's the coaching comes in the sense that I apply the coaching skills, asking questions primarily, without expectation, without judgment, and without making assumptions. When I ask my clients questions on the business side or even on a slightly personal level, because sometimes it depends on what the client said. I mean, after some time, they normally would start opening up a little bit. They may explain to you the dynamics within the company, a little bit of the political issues there, here and there. How you present the advice may have an impact, on how they present it to senior management or their boss or whatever. So if I, as an external lawyer or as a legal consultant, I understand those dynamics a little bit better, I can deliver my advice in the most helpful way to my client. So when I talk about assimilating coaching into my practice, is is that I use the skills that I learned in coaching when I ask questions, which is actually very, very different from asking questions as a lawyer. Because, when we ask legal questions or legal related questions, we tend to have a lot of assumptions and expectations because of our experience, right? But when I ask questions in a really open-minded way, an open-ended way, with our assumptions, expectations, and so on, I mean, you tend to receive a lot of answers, so to speak, that you would not otherwise have had received.
So how do you decide at what point you're being a coach, what point you're being a lawyer, and what point you're being a business expert?
Yeah, it depends on what the client said. In my experience, especially when I work with entrepreneurs or founders of a business, I mean, they are the business effectively, right? So when I ask them business related questions, it depends on what the client said. But at some point in time, I'll sense that, there might be a mindset issue somewhere there. Especially when they are like being really, really super realistic, that a lot of the time suggests a scarcity mindset, to be honest, because they can't see beyond now. They can only see now, and I need to manage everything, nitty-gritties, every dollar, every cent. That a lot of the time suggests to me a scarcity mindset or some other roadblocks along the way that that may be blocking them expanding their business. So that's where the coaching will come into play. And when I talk to a client on Zoom or in person, I will make it very clear that we are entering kind of like the coaching zone, if you don't mind. So I make it very clear, I'm not talking to you as a lawyer now. If if you're happy to discuss these issues, is what I do as a business mentor or as a business coach, we can talk about, we can explore a little bit more on these topics. For example, when I'm the lawyer giving the consultant the advice, then of course I will make sure the client understands what this is the legal bit. So I do make it very clear in the conversation.
So what kinds of clients do you tend to attract?
Well, I want to serve entrepreneurs, founders, CEOs, and businesses. Either they have a new idea, a new innovative idea or product they want to launch to change our world for the better. Yeah. So completely new, in the business. I want to help them grow the business, launch the business. That's why I call Rocket a vision to launch service. The other group of clients that I really wanted to work with are businesses who have been there for, say, a few years. They have some earnings, they are quite established in maybe one country, and they now are ready to scale up, to go abroad or, expand into Asia or China or whatever. I wanted to help them level up. So I basically want to work with these two categories of clients, but in the end, they are entrepreneurs, they are CEOs. Their companies have innovative products or services that change our world. Because I think my time and energy are really precious. When I work with clients, I'm like 200% dedicated. So I only have that much time to serve a handful of people really, really well. I do not like doing mediocre job, since I was a kid. So I thought to myself, if I'm using a lot of my time and energy helping my clients, well, I want to help those who can change our world for the better. Yeah. I do not just want to help people who want to earn a lot of money. Yeah.
Was that something that came to you later on in your career? Or was it something you had from early on? And at what point and what was the epiphany?
It's actually has been quite a recent thing for me in the last 2-3 years. I have always been providing the legal services, the business consultancy, and the coaching separately.
Yeah. Okay.
But then over time, I find that actually some of my clients actually need all three, especially if they are like entrepreneurs starting a business or scaling up the business. Then I realized actually they need all three. And then it would be really weird to see them or to tell them to go find three different experts to help them, whereas I can be the one who help them. That's so weird, right? So that's when I first think of, how about combining the three into one single service? And then I, do the same thing. I mean, I Google, a bit and then do some research. Apparently no one is doing that. I was like, okay. Does it mean that it cannot be done? I mean, if it can be done, someone must have been doing it for some time, right? Because I was trying to find someone who can do that. And you can find lawyers who are also business consultant or do business mentorship. That's no problem. But to find someone who also does coaching or business coaching, maybe not. I mean, in coaching in the traditional sense, not well, nowadays everybody calls themselves a coach, but in the more traditional way.
But I think there are plenty of lawyers I've spoken to who have become coaches but are no longer practicing law.
Yeah. So at some point in time they give up. One aspect of it. But I really love IP and technology. I do not want to give it up. And I help entrepreneurs, right? And they have innovative ideas or products, and that's IP. Yes. So to me, it's really odd that I would give up my IP practice when I pursue my other ventures, because it's integrated in one.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's why I do not want to give up my practice. First and foremost, I really like IP. I think IP and tech, I mean, is the way to go.
Because it's also, this is where the alignments of your skill set is so wonderful, absolutely. Because it's about inspiration, ideas coming out from within, from someone, and you can coach them that way as well as give them this practical legal advice. It's quite wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's when I started thinking, let's try to combine the three. How to, well, is it possible to combine the three? Is it, how to do it in a way that's kind of like understandable by people, because it's quite unique in the market.
And it is.
Yeah. So I was like, how to do it, how to do the marketing, how to position myself. Yeah. So I spent some time thinking about that.
So at this point, had you done coaching courses? Because I know that you've got accreditation. So did you had done it already and then you fused them? So it's not like you decided to fuse them and then you went off and you studied the coaching courses. So you separately had decided that you wanted to do coaching. And did you find the take up when you fused them? What was it like? What was the response like from the market? Were you going to clients and saying, you're my legal client and I'm now prepared to provide you with the coaching, and separately, you're my coaching client, I'm now prepared to give you legal advice?
No, not really like that, but I always start from what the client wants.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, if a client comes to me for legal, that's where I start.
Okay.
But when in the course of providing the service, they get to know me better, they get to know my style, they get to know what other things I can do or help them with, and then it starts from there. It could be a coaching client. It started off with coaching some issues, personal issues, health problem, or whatever it is, right? It could then become a conversation about, they happen to be thinking of starting a business. Then suddenly the business side comes into it, right?
And where are most of your clients based? Are they based in the UK?
Worldwide, really, nowadays.
Yeah, okay. It's so interesting, so interesting.
I know.
And tell me about the rebel lawyer.
Oh yeah, it's basically, well, I call myself a rebel lawyer in the sense that I don't provide my legal services in the conventional way.
Yeah. Okay.
So rebel to me it's a creative, unconventional person. I mean, I'm not suggesting lawyers go out there to break the laws and all that.
You don't have to go very far to be rebellious as a lawyer, right?
Absolutely.
I feel like I'm rebellious as well, and
I know. That's why when I first
doing law from
I
my
know. That's
study.
why when I first come across your podcast and then, I read your LinkedIn bio and all that, I was like, oh, there's a rebel.
There are certainly a
Yeah,
few of us growing in number because the
yeah,
old way of practicing law was so restrictive,
absolutely.
so ineffective. Like you said,
Absolutely.
you take the client's question, you look at it a certain way, you draw all kinds of restrictions around it, and you
Yeah,
just give that advice. And like you said,
yeah.
sometimes you can't even make the question fit into the box
Yeah,
of
I
the
know.
solution.
I know.
Doesn't
I
matter.
know.
You've provided, and that's it. Then you
Yeah.
charge a client, and that's in some ways that's traditional law practice, without
Yeah, I
thinking
know. I
about the
know.
client, without thinking about who they are, what they need, their
Yeah,
whatever experiences they've had, mindset, traumas, etc., etc. And all of that, now I
absolutely.
interview people who are doing that, including
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So for me, I actually have been doing that, even I think from my in-house days, just without knowing it. But it's
Uh-huh.
that natural way that I talk to people, really, because I want to understand them as a person first and foremost, then what they do, what are their challenges, etc. Legal issue is one of the challenges, right? One of the roadblocks, so to speak. But I'm a curious person. I always wanted to just understand the person first and foremost. If they've launched a business or if they have an idea they wanted to launch, why do they want to do that? So I'm really curious in these. And then when you get to know the client a little bit better, know their business a lot better, understand their vision, or actually help expand their vision a little bit, go to a bigger place. I mean, they are all creative people, right?
Yeah.
They have everything they need to go to a much bigger place. And as coach, that's my role, to help them get there, help them see that they can get there. And we work together, to help them get to that place that they want to be, changing the world for the better. And then legal is really a relatively small bit in the grand scheme of things, to be honest, but it's a very important skill set, very important things to get right from the start, especially protecting your IP, protecting your technology, if you happen to be an IP or tech heavy company.
So do you have a particular way that you work with clients when you onboard them?
Yeah, I have my methodology. I have a method, which I know what to do. But as I mentioned, I normally start with finding out where the client is. So by asking questions, different types of questions, just to gauge, where they are right now, and which approach may work better for them. So I go through my methodology in the end, but I don't have a necessary very rigid way. Oh, I must start with question one, and then through an order, and must ask the 10 questions in the first meeting. No, I don't have that rigidness in finding out what the clients do, because I wanted to meet the client where they are, really. So, depends on what they want to talk more about. Some people are like, when you ask them certain questions, they can just go on forever, because those are the topics that they are really, really passionate about. Right? So I would just give them time, you can talk about it. And then I will maybe ask the other questions in the next meeting or something. So I don't have a very rigid way of doing it, but I do follow my methodology.
And then in terms of your clients making an impact in the world, you say that they tend to be creatives and entrepreneurs. So give us some examples of the sectors that you find your clients in.
I started off with this approach. I tested the approach with coaching clients, to be honest. And some of them are like starting the coaching business, or they are therapists or psychologists, pivoting during COVID period, to become coaches, etc. So those definitely are very creative, and they have their own ICA, they have their own ideal client that they wanted to serve, to help, and help make those people better. right? So I really wanted to help them. So I started off with helping coaches. And then of course, I would want to integrate my IP and tech practice a little bit more. So I then try to pick and choose, some new tech company, or, young companies or brands, which is a bit more IP or tech heavy. And I would tend to choose those with an innovative product that just make our life easier, solve an issue, solve a problem that we all have, right? So I love doing those things. Or, there are ways where people buy things online, trade in the marketplace, or source certain materials from some countries. But then there are entrepreneurs out there who have created an easier way, quicker way, more simple way, a more sustainable way. And I wanted to help them, help their business to be successful, because in the end, it's just helping us, as people on earth.
Yeah, I mean, it's just little practical ways. And what you're getting at is the seed of capitalism isn't actually about people who go out and want to make money. It's about people who want to go out and make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I strongly believe that if we all set out, business owners, if we all set out our intention to be serving people, I don't think you need to be worried about the money.
Yeah,
it will come in.
Yeah. I was going to ask you as well whether you see your model as one that might take off. So are you seeing any other coach, lawyer, business expert services?
Interesting question. What I wanted to do is, one of my projects working alongside Rocket is, when I'm having connection calls or conversations with people, especially when they are lawyers, I try to find out whether they are a rebel to a certain extent, like me, because I wanted to create a rebel law school.
Okay.
Yeah, for lawyers, really.
Yeah.
So that I wanted to create a school, put together some courses or curriculum to help maybe middle to senior ranking in lawyers at the start, relatively early on in the career, to learn all these and to practice all these business skills and coaching skills, so that when they become really senior, partner level, whatever, and they can go out there, serve the clients much better. So I wanted to create a rebel law school. So when I'm having conversations with possibly like-minded rebels, I wanted to explore with them whether they would be interested to join my rebel law school. I wanted to form a core team of founders, so to speak, or co-founders, and then we would work together to put together curriculum for lawyers. They must, whoever sign up on these courses, they must be really good lawyers to start with, because I'm not teaching them legal technical stuff, right? You do it in the proper law school, not proper, in the traditional law schools. But when you sign up to our courses, what we teach you are things that you do not learn in traditional law schools, or you do not even learn in your own law firms. Right? So all the business stuff, how to run the business, you might have an MBA, or you might have taken some business course, but it doesn't mean that you know how to run a business, right? And then I wanted to also integrate coaching as well. So either we provide coaching courses as well, or if we don't have that capacity, maybe we will team up with the certification school, coaching school, and require our students to take the course as well as part of the curriculum, something like that. So I have those ideas, and when I'm talking with like-minded rebel lawyers, I wanted to explore with them whether we can form a core team and then put together some courses, talk to different partners, business partners, then we can put together this curriculum. Because my intention is that, for all the brilliant lawyers out there, why don't learn all these skills earlier on? Why Why wait till you are a partner? Why wait till you are 20 years as a partner and still don't know that? That's really odd for me. So
yeah, it also goes to the law firm model where we tend to train younger lawyers in the technical skills and business development skills, but they're very narrow business development skills. And then we actually expect them to be owners of the business when they make partner, and then magically they're going to have these skills that allow them to run the business and manage people and so on and so forth. And we're surprised when there's so many very good lawyers who become partners, but they lack all of the other skills that are needed to actually run a business.
Running a law firm is very different running another corporation, right? And I think traditional law schools may be teaching in such a way that thinking these lawyers are going to be eventually, hopefully, partners in a law firm, but they are not necessarily the path for those people. Many of them venture off doing their setting up their own businesses and doing other stuff, right?
Yeah, indeed.
So I think in a way, by creating the Rebel Law School and teaching people really the practical side of things, how to serve the clients first and foremost as human beings, not so much thinking about the bills and your billable hours and the target that you need to reach. I mean, that's not really how I was trained. So I want to team up with like-minded people and reform the profession in that way.
Are you finding that you are teaming up with groups, other associations of lawyers? I am loosely affiliated with a group that call themselves the Integrative Lawyers. And I find that a lot of what you're saying resonates with the integrative lawyers, this kind of systems thinking, value-based thinking, reflecting on our role. So are you finding that that there are pods of lawyers who think like you?
So far, I've found a few very, very like-minded rebels. I can actually sense, after 5-10 minutes into the conversation, I go, oh, that's the rebel over there. But then I would love the opportunity to connect with, organizations that you mentioned. I mean, to find more people. I mean, the more people, more rebels lawyers that I can find, the better. I mean, I can get to the Rebel Law School idea much quicker.
I think so. I mean, there are 20 or so lawyers I've already interviewed in the last few months, and I could definitely connect you with a few of them. I think that there'll be many who will be very interested in your idea of this combination.
Yeah, please do. Because in the end, with this initiative, I wanted to change people's perception of a lawyer. I mean, unfortunately, when you Google, it's so odd. When you Google lawyers, things about lawyers, normally it's the negative stuff, the negative perceptions that come first and foremost in the search. It's so crazy, right? So, and legal profession, and the legal profession is such a big profession. Unfortunately, there's a lot of bad rap about it. So I wanted to do my little part to change that perception. But first and foremost is for lawyers to really effectively use their skills, use their talents to serve their clients.
Brilliant. Well, I wish you all the best, Bernie, and it has been really fantastic to catch up with you again and to see where you are on your path. So all the best with the Rebel Law School, and thank you for being with us.
Oh, thank you for having me.